Yeah. Okay. Today's daf is daf Samach Tes in Yevmot. We learned from Fushlan, Yosef Israel Ben Chaim Michal, and Elazar Ben Ruma. From the top of the page, about the third line on the page, Ashken Kanes Levi of Yisrael's Minah. What are we speaking about? We said we learned yesterday that a Bas Kohen, daughter of a Kohen, who has bia with somebody that she's not supposed to marry, that ruins her from eating truma ever again. She's like a zona now. It says Bas Kohen Kisiya Li'ish Zar. And what does it say there? That he b'truma sakachim lo tochel. Now the pashut shot is that, of course, if she marries Yisrael, she can't eat truma anymore. But the drush is, because we had extra psukim there, it says more than once, etc. That she can't, if she lives with somebody she's not supposed to live with, she's like a zona. She can't eat truma anymore, and she can't marry a kohen, right? Because she can't. It goes together. Rashi said on the page that truma is kedushas kuna. The two things go together. The Gemara said that. The Gemara said kavachomer, gila milsa. Truma itself is kedushas kuna. So the Gemara said at the end of the daf, well, maybe that's only but where it says Bas Kohen Kisi. If she marries somebody who she can marry, what about somebody she can't marry, like a goy or an eved? What about them? How do we know that if she slept with them also that she cannot, that she can't eat truma anymore going forward forever? The pasuk says Bas Kohen Kisi almana grusha. Mishlosh lamanas grusha. The top of the page, that samach tes at the top. Anybody that she is divorced from, who she can be an almana or a grusha from, means she was married to him. She can become widowed or divorced. She's married to an evet or to a goy, and she's not divorced or widowed from him because she's never really married to him. That doesn't count. And therefore, in other words, when does she go back? It says Basko and Kisi. If she's an almana or grusha, she was married to Israel, and she becomes an almana grusha from the Israel, and there were no children. V'zera ain law. She has no children. She can go back and eat to truma from her father's house. That's the basic idea here that we're talking about. If a Bas Kohen eats truma in her father's house, if she marries Israel, she can't eat truma anymore. If she has children from him, even if he dies, she can't eat truma anymore because she's connected to the Israel. The reverse. If a Bas Yisrael marries a Kohen, she can eat truma now. If he dies, she could still eat truma, but if she has children from him, right? But if he dies and there's no children, she can't eat truma anymore. She goes back. So the same thing, and therefore she can't eat truma anymore going forward. Ashken Kanas, that's fine if she's a Bas Kohen. Levi of Yisrael. How do we know even a Levi Yisraelis, a non-Kohen woman, if she marries, let's say, a goy or a eved, that ruins her from eating truma? Could Amarav Bas Ubas. Because the pasuk says Ubas Kohen, the extra vav teaches that. Achanami Bas Ubas, just like we had before yesterday. Bas Ubas. The Ubas teaches me even as Israel's or a Levi also. The more command Rabbi Akiva, does that go like Rabbi Akiva the Darsh Vavi? Remember, Rabbi Akiva was famous for he darshened every S and every vav. Are we saying goes like Rabbi Akiva? It's not feel tim rabbanim. Kula ubas, he said the whole word ubas is extra. Not just the vav is extra, the whole ubas is extra. Just like we saw yesterday, where it says ubas kohen kisi ali ishzar he b'trumas kashim lo tochel. The same thing over here. This ubas kohen kisi al managush is also the whole ubas extra to teach me that it refers to a Yisraelis or a Leviah also. But well, maybe it means this: if you could be widowed or divorced, meaning the marriage was chal. Right, marriage was chal. Bas Kohen married somebody that she wasn't supposed to marry. That she was married to Israel, and now she's an almana or grusha from him, so she goes back and eat truma when she doesn't have any children. Maybe it means this: when she doesn't have any children from the Israel, she can go back and eat truma in her father's house. Ki isla zara elotach, she can't. Misha ein lomas grushin ba. But if let's say she can't, she has no lomas or grushin from like a goy or an eved who sleeps with this Bas Kohen, she's not a widow or divorced because she's never married to him. Maybe Afakab this, or even if she has children from him, Namitech, maybe she could also eat. In Cain, Ribuya Levi Yisrael. What do I need the Ribuy to tell me Levi in Israel is also usher? What do I need that for? And Rashi explains the Akra Lekuliksiv. All right, the high quality. If you say that the pasuk is telling me a kula, then what? That if she's married to a goy or an eved, even if she has children from him, she could still eat truma. It's a kula. So Lashmina does low puzzle. We believe it's lamely. What do I need to marry that for? If a Bas Kohen can do it, so lamely because of Bas Kohen. What do I have to teach me? A Levi Yisrael's also in that. Hashtakanas Gufashmina the low mifsal b'zera v'kachavim. boy. Certainly a kahanas who's a higher degree of kedusha, if she's not ruined by being married to a goy, so certainly a Yisrael also are not. If it's tell me if she's divorced or widowed from somebody that she could be married to, that kedusha's chal when she has children from him, lo techa she shouldn't eat. Then the same way of Yisrael who only eats because of her children. Remember, the Yisrael doesn't eat truma unless she has children from a kohen. So the kohen the chitiras lazar the elazar man lo tashuv l'truma. She can't be Mrs. Bala. She also treat the Manach Kohen that she herself is supposed to be Yisrael Mitruma, the Ben Shkini from her father's house, Kosher Yisrael, so only eats because of her son, certainly would be Asra. Elabadi, the Pasuk is telling you a Chiddush to be marvel for Israel. So the Gemara at the end again, we started off by saying the end of the Gemara yesterday said maybe the only ones who passel a Bas Kohen from eating Truma is somebody that she can be married to. Kisiya of Kedushin's Chal. How do we know even Eved or Goy or Kedushin's not Chal? So we had this pasuk of Bas Kohen Kisiya Almana Grusha. But maybe that's only, but according to Bekiva, Kedushin Tavs B'chayv Labin. But Bekiva holds there's no such thing as a Bas Kohen who's married to somebody, and if she becomes an Almana Grusha, then she can go back and eat in her father's house, as opposed to if she's married to a goy or an eved, where kedushin's not chal. Kedushin's not chal on any of them. Remember, Kiva holds that even chayv lavin, kedushin's not chal, and the kids are mamzer from that. Even let's say not a coin with a grusha or coin gadol with an amana, because that's they make a halal. But let's say machsu shasim mishanissus, right? If you married your wife again after she was married to somebody else, that's a lav, and according to Rabbi Kiva, that would be a mamzer. So according to Kiva, and that wouldn't kedushin would be chal. Or Rabbi Kiva, that ain't kedushin type of chayv lavin. Umay kisio. So what does kisio lisar? It doesn't mean if she's married to the guy, because she's not chal. So what does it mean? Kisia kisivo, when she has bia with him, when they consummated together. Kisia says kisivo almana grusha lovely. What do I mean? So in other words, according to Bekiva, when it says kisia lishar, it doesn't mean like the way the Tanna Kama learns kisia if she was married to him. And we learn out in the case where she can't be married to him, from Almana Grusha, Basko and Kisi Almana Grusha, Misha is Almana Grusha, Yas Everett. There's no Almana Grusha. What are you talking about? According to Bekiva, Kisia can't be when she was married to him because Kushin's not chal. So what is Kisia? If she'll be with him, if she has be with him. So what is Almana Grusha? I mean, what does it say Almana Grusha? What does it have to tell me that for? The pasuk is just telling you if she was with somebody, had be with him. What is Almana Grusha? What do you mean to tell me? Grusha? I'm only if there's somebody who had Kushin was chal. Like where you come in Almana Grusha from a union like that, as opposed to an Eved Gocham where the Kedusha is not chal. The Kedusha is not chal on any of them, lovely. So Almana lahachmer Grusha lahakla. Almana is to be machmer and Grusha to be mekel. To tell me that an Almana, that in both those cases, you might think that Almana is not so bad, and even if she has children from the Israel, she could still eat truma in her father's house. And you might think that. So it's machmer, no, if she has children, not. And a Grusha to be mekel, to tell me when there are no children, she could still go back and eat truma in her father's house after she's divorced from Israel. Why do we have to tell me those cases? If you tell me an almana, who dechi is like dechi lesa zera achlu mishum dechas lekuna. An almana, I might say, okay, an almana again, a Bas Kohen married to Israel, and she's widowed from him, and there are no children. Okay, she can go back and eat truma in her father's house. Why? Because she could still marry a Kohen. An almana can marry a Kohen. She can marry a Kohen. She can marry a Kohen. Avla Grusha, the lochas and Grusha can't marry a Kohen. I might think, even though she has no children, a Bas Kohen who's divorced from a Yisrael, while she's married to Yisrael, she can't. Remember, Bas Kohen eats truma in her father's house. She marries Yisrael, she can't eat truma anymore. Now he divorces her. Can she eat truma if there's no children? The pasuk says she can, but I might think she can't because she can't marry Cohen anymore once she's a grusha. Even though she has no children, that she can't eat truma. About whether she's an almana or a grusha, and she was married to Israel, wasn't married to somebody who was forbidden to her. She was just married to Israel. While she was married to Israel, she can't eat truma. Now that she's divorced or widowed, she can go back and eat truma from her father. And grusha. If you tell me the case of grusha, a grusha, when she has children, she can't eat truma. If she has children from Israel, she can't eat truma. She can marry a Kohen. Who's right to marry a Kohen. This is Zara, even though she has children from Israel, I think she can still eat truma in her father's house once she's on a month. Everybody tells me no in both cases. in both cases that what? If, whether she's a grusha or an almana from Yisrael, if she has children from Yisrael, she can't eat truma if from her father. If she doesn't have children, then she can eat truma from her father.
What if she married a Kohen?
Yes.
And then he became a grusha or a man?
Okay, so if she was saying that, then it's certainly no worse. If Bas Kohen married a Kohen, and did they have children?
Yeah, if they had no children, she can go back.
If they had no children, she can go back. If they had children, certainly she can eat truma because of her husband. Because of her husband. However, because of her husband. However, if she still can't marry a Kohen now because she's still a grusha. She can't even marry her own husband. If he divorces her and 5 minutes later she decides to marry her again, he can't marry her because she's divorced, right? She's still a divorcee. However, whether she had children from her, she didn't have children, she can still eat truma. If she had children from him, she could eat his truma. She can eat truma, period. Doesn't make any difference whose it is, but she can eat truma. And so she can eat truma either way, if she had children or she didn't have children, because she's a Bas Kohen and she was married to a Kohen. If she had no children, she can eat truma because of her father. And if she didn't have children, if she didn't have children, she could eat truma because of her father. If she had children, she could eat truma because of her ex-husband. Okay, now.
So the ex
because of her children.
Pardon? No, if she didn't have children. If she had children, she can eat truma because of her husband. If she didn't, and because of her and if she didn't have children, she could eat truma because of her father, because she's a Bas Kohen married to a Kohen in the case he gave. Bas Kohen married to a Kohen.
Even if she's married to an ex-Kohen, she still can get truma.
There's no such thing as an ex-Kohen. She was ex to a Kohen. Yeah.
She was married to a Kohen and got divorced.
Right.
So she can eat truma from.
Is she a Bas Kohen or a Bas Yisrael?
She was about to swear.
Oh, so the question is different. She's a Bas Yisrael married to a Kohen. She can eat truma because of her husband. Okay. Now, if she's divorced from the husband and she had children from the husband, she could still eat truma.
If she didn't have children, she can't.
If she has children, she can't. Then she goes back, right? And the reverse: if she's a Bas Kohen married to Yisrael, while she's married to Yisrael, she can't eat truma. If she had any children from the Yisrael, she can't eat truma. Any surviving children, grandchildren, we'll see all the way down. Even if her grandchild, right? We're talking about that's a Bas Kohen married to Yisrael. What did I say? Bas Kohen married to Yisrael. She can't eat truma. Can't eat truma. Divorced because she's married to Yisrael. If he divorces her and there's no children, she can go and eat truma again. If there's children, she's bound to the Yisrael. Even if she bound to Yisrael and she can't eat truma, even if the child even if the child's a mamzer, the case is even better because it reversed. When she's a Bas Yisrael married to a Kohen and he divorces her, what do we say? If there's no children, she can't eat truma anymore. If there's children, she can eat truma. What happens if the child is a mamzer? If she has a grandchild who's a mamzer, she can eat truma because of the mamzer. We're going to talk about that. We'll see that. Now, back in the Gemara. It says Gemara, maybe it means this. Well, if we're talking about until now, we're going back to the Tanakama. We said that if a Bas Kohen has bia with anybody that she's not supposed to, that effectively turns her into a zona. She can't eat truma anymore, and she can't marry a Kohen, and that's it. Now, what happens? What happens if let's say a Bas Yisrael who's machzik b'shasa mishanisas? She wasn't supposed to marry her husband because she was married to somebody else in between, and maybe there too she's puzzled now for marrying a Kohen. And we learned before that that's not the case. Why not? The answer is Lizar Rachmana Misha Zar Etzla. Pasuk says Bas Kohen kisia li ishzar. If she's married to somebody she's not supposed to, right? Misha Zar Etzla mikar, she wasn't supposed to from the beginning. Whereas this guy was her husband once. She was allowed to marry him. She wasn't a zar l'chachila. In other words, a zar means he was somebody she wasn't supposed to marry. He was a mamzer, or he was a goy, or he was a nisin, or somebody that a halal, whatever she wasn't supposed to marry. That ruins her. But this guy wasn't a zar. He was allowed to marry. Halal. What about a halal the lavzar who takes out the word mikara? Halal was also, in other words, a halal is allowed to marry a Bas Kohen. He can marry anybody, right? So why don't you say over here too? He's not a zar. The answer is shouldn't ruin her. And we said that a halal does ruin her. That was what we said before. We talked up by saying all these people that live with any of them, whether she's a Kahanis, we said, or a Levi Israel, so ruins them from eating. In other words, if any woman live with somebody they're not supposed to, a Geramoni Moav, you're not supposed to marry. A Mitzri in the first two generations, and a Mitzri and a Dom first generation. A Kuti and a Tin or Halal or Mamzer, not supposed to marry those guys. And if she does, she can't eat Truma anymore. But why is it Halal? Halal, she's allowed to marry. Right? That's what it says. Makish Zaro Lo. When he talks about, say, a Kohen marrying a Kohen Gadol marrying an Amana, it says Lo Yichal Zar Ba'amav, Makish Zaro Lo. His Zar is like him. Lo Yichal, he shouldn't be Machal his children. Mahu Poso, just like he apostles the wife. When a Kohen Gadol lives with an Amana or a Kohen with the Grusha ruins her, Avzaro Nami Poso, his children also pasul. The Chal also apostles her. So technically, this is an interesting case because in the case of, let's say, a Mamzer or in a sin or a Moni Movi or Mitzri Domi, the first generations, or a Kuti, a Mamzer, you're not supposed to marry those people. But a Bas Kohen could marry a Halal. It's not also for her to marry Halal, but still it ruins her from eating Truma. Wait a minute. So what do we say over here? We said that if the Bentesha Shon B'Yamecha, we said Mishnah said Mishnah didn't give all those cases. That was the case in the Brisa, right? The Brisa said that Bentesha Shon B'Yamecha, Geramoni, all those people should bow al kanas if they live with any of these people, ruins them from eating truma. Okay, how do you know it's bo? The pasuk is based on Ubas Kohen. Ki Sia Ish Zar. Sia means she was married to him. So maybe from the time they're married, as soon as they get married, they have chuppah, that even without chuppah, right? So maybe from that point on, she's forbidden to marry, to eat truma, and to be with a Kohen. Maybe that should be the case. They mishas abaya as soon as they get married, as soon as they got engaged. No, the Kohen Gadol, just like a Kohen Gadol Amana. Right? Kohen Gadol Amana, it says like Yichal Zaruk Sheish Zera. It's only at a time where there's bia there, when Zera is coming out. Maybe need both. That's what all it takes is bia by itself. Rav Yossi Omer. Now the Brisa said the Brisa was originally brought down where on Daf Samaches, right? The Mishnah that we started with was on Samach Zayin and Beis. The Brisa though talked about right Israel talked about the Brisa was on Samaches Manal. There it said that all these people. Rabbi Yossi Omer Kol Shazaro Posel Posel. In other words, the rule is not Amoni Moavi, those rules there that ruins constantly ruins them. It says it depends. Only if his zera, if his seed, if his children are Posel, that ruins. If his children aren't ruined, that doesn't Posel. Meaning, if this man living with this woman, when does he ruin her from eating truma and from marrying a Kohen? Only if his children are also Posel, but otherwise not. Well, how is that different than all these other cases? In the sin, Mamzer, Domi, all those people that also ruin their children. So how is he different? So the Gemara now analyze that. Rabbi Yossi, right? Rabbi Yossi Omer Koshas are Posel. If the children are illegitimate, let's say they are disqualified, they're Posel. So Posel, that then that bia, the father ruins her. In other words, when the man's children are Posel, then he ruins the wife from eating truma. Kol she'ein zaro Posel, ein Posel. Children are not Posel. So what's the difference? Aren't they all the same? Either way, the children are Posel. There's an interesting thing. The pasuk is lo yavo amoni moavi b'kal Hashem, right? A person from Moab and Moab are not allowed to marry, even if they become converts, they can never marry regular Jews, right? They can only marry Geir if you're Geir and not Kal Yisrael, etc. They can marry one another. They're Jews, but they can't marry the regular Jewish people. A Mitzri, it says Dor Shlishi Yavo Lehem. The third generation of converts can. It's an interesting thing. If an Egyptian, we don't know who the Egyptians are today, not the Arabs that we have today, but Mitzri and Adomi, a real original Mitzri and Adomi, even if he converts, we're not talking about when they're going. Goyim certainly cannot marry Jews. We're talking about when they convert. Even after they've gone at the first and second generations, cannot marry Jews, regular Jews. They cannot marry regular Jews. It says Mishnah, it says Dor Shlishi Yavo Lahem, the third generation. So here's what we mean over here. So Rav Yossi says if the children are Posel, they can't pass. Rav Yossi Nafmin would be a Mitzri Sheni and Adomi. Sheni. Let's say you had a Mitzri and Adomi who converted, and their children now are Mitzri and Adomi. They married other Mitzri and Adomi converts. Their children are second generation. Now, if that Mitzri and Adomi is also not supposed to marry a regular Jew, let's say he married a Jewish girl. The Mitzri Ardomi Sheni, second generation. Their father converted, their parents converted. Now they're second generation Mitzri Ardomi. If they're not supposed to live with a Jewish woman, but if they do, what are their children? Mitzri Shlishi. Mitzri Shlishi is not possible. Right. So he says, Rabbi Yossi says, there would not be a Mitzri Sheni. In other words, since their children are not possible, the Mitzri Sheni would also not ruin a Jewish woman from eating truma anymore. According to Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yossi says, you look at the children, right? The Tanakhama says, oh, Mitzri Dom is not supposed to, second generation not supposed to live with a Jewish woman. He ruins her, says the Tanakhama. He's possible, right? Rabbi Yossi says it depends on the children possible. Since the children wouldn't be possible because they are Mitzri Shlishi, they wouldn't ruin the father also. As Mitzri Sheni would not ruin the mother, the Jewish woman from eating truma. Mitzri Sheni they looked at the case of based on Kohen Gadol with an almana. Kohen Gadol can't marry an almana. Tanakama said, "Ma Kohen Gadol almana should be also babeira. He's not allowed to live with her, right? He's only supposed to marry a psula. Uposel, and he ruins her. Afainami posel. The Mitzri Sheni is not supposed to live with a Jewish woman, even though he's Jewish. He's a convert. His father was a convert. He's not supposed to marry a Jewish woman yet till the third generation. So Afainami, since the Bia is babeira, the Mitzri Sheni should not live with the Jewish woman, just like the Almana shouldn't live with the Kohen Gadol, and just like the apostle is also Afainami apostle. The Yossi Sover no, the Kohen Gadol, Ma Kohen Gadol Shazaro apostle, just like the Kohen Gadol, his children are apostle. They're Chalalim Uposo, and he ruins the woman, the mother that he slept with, from eating truma. Afkol Shazaro apostle. Only if the children are apostle. Apuki Mitzri Sheni the Ein Zaro apostle. The Siv Banim Asher Yivodu Lem Dor Shlishi Yavo Lem Ekalashim. How do you like that? Pasuk said the Gemara brings down the pasuk, right? We only know the Chumash and the Tanakh that's brought down. So there would be an afternoon from Yossi and the Tanakama. Shmuel then said, no, he said even different. Rabbi Shmuel's rules, he said, if you can marry his daughter, you can marry his almana. If you can't marry his daughter, you can't marry his almana. What are we speaking about? Rabbi Shmuel, what's the Muslim Rabbi Yossi and Shmuel? Here's the difference. Listen to this. A Geramoni Moavi. Remember which famous Moabite became a Jewish mother? Rus, right? What about Moavi are not allowed to marry? Moab says Amoni v'lo Amonis. Moavi v'lo Moavis. She says Geramoni Moavi Yikibinayu. Again, they learn from Kohen Gadol. Yossi Savar Ma Kohen Gadol B'Yamana Shazar Apostle. Afkol Shazar Apostle. But we just explained if the children are apostle, okay. So Mitzri Sheni, whose children are Mitzri Shlishi, are not apostle, so he wouldn't ruin the mother from eating truma. Shmuel Savar Ma Kohen Gadol B'Yamana Shekol Zar Apostle. All his children are apostle, meaning a Kohen Gadol lives with a mother, all his children are apostle. Chalalim, chalalot, they're all no good. Apostle, therefore he ruins the mother. Af kosh is our apostle. The ain't calls our apostle. If Ammoni or Moavi converts, right, he can never marry Kal Hashem, right? But if he has a child, who's a girl, she could convert, and she's allowed to, even if his conversion doesn't really help much because he's not really Jewish. But it's Ammoni Moavi. If he convert, if he has a daughter, the daughter could marry a Jewish, whether she converted before or afterwards. So therefore he says, listen, only on a model Kohen Gadol, all his children are good. But over here where the children could be good, he says, in other words, if an Ammoni or a Moabis converted and slept with a Jewish woman, wouldn't ruin her from eating truma. Again, if he didn't convert, then he's a goy. But we're talking about if he converted, he's still an Ammoni and Moabis, he can never lose that taint. Just like a mamzer could be a Talmud Chacham or a Kohen Gadol, can't be a Kohen Gadol, but he could be a mamzer. He could be a Talmud Chacham rather. He's still Jewish, right? So an Ammoni Moab is converted, and he's a Shomer Torah mitzvahs, but he can't marry Jewish people. But his daughter could, and therefore, if that Ammoni Moavi convert slept with a Jewish woman, wouldn't ruin her from eating truma according to Shmuel. So again, what's the rule? Let's get that clear before we go on. If a Yisraelis married a Kohen, she can eat truma. If he dies, divorces her, if she had any seed from him, any great grandchild, she could still eat truma, right? Okay. If a Bas Kohen who can eat truma because of her father marries a Yisrael, can't eat truma anymore. If she is divorced or widowed from him, right? She was divorced from him. If there's no children, then she can eat truma. If there's children, she's bounded to Israel. Okay, what about Honis from Fata? What about if there was no marriage at all? But this woman was, let's use the word rape to seduce, meaning he had bia without marriage, right? What happened there? Or a shota who marries a Jewish woman, right? Lo posim lo machilin. They don't rule. In other words, in all these cases, there's no marriage. Onus mafata means he raped. There was a single man raped a single woman. Let's say right? The man could be married. Doesn't make any difference. But she's single, right? Onus mafata. All these cases, there's no marriage. They don't ruin her from eating truma. Wait a minute. Is that the case? A Jewish woman and was raped by some Jewish guy. Isn't she a zona? No, only according to Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Lezer says that according to Rabbi Lezer, 99.99% of the Jewish women today in the world, or whatever it is, would be zonas and couldn't marry a Kohen. But we don't hold that way. Only if she's married, only if she has bia with somebody she's not supposed to. If a Jewish woman sleeps with a goy or with a mamzer, somebody she's not supposed to sleep with, that ruins her from eating truma and passes her from marrying a Kohen. The two things go together. That Rashi is important. The truma and kedushas kahuna go together, right? However, a single Jewish woman who slept with a man, that doesn't ruin her from eating truma. So the man doesn't pass her. Below machilan, also he can't give her truma. Let's say the rapist is a Kohen. Let's say a Kohen rapes a girl. Can she eat truma now? No, not married to him. It seems obvious, right? And Mishnah tells us, okay. If now this means and yesterday's more we had this means Ein Roy Levav Yisrael. We already had on Yisrael in the first mission. This means if they're not Roy for Kuna. If you can't marry a Kohen, that rules her from eating Kuma. Okay, Ketzah, hooray. You're going to explain now. But now, that seems obvious, right? But let's say the rapist impregnates her. That's what we're going to deal with now. Okay? Ketzah, we're on the last line of the page. Ketzah, hooray Yisrael. Did you say, oi? Yeah, okay. All right, yeah, it's a good one. Here it's fitting. This is fitting. Ketzah, hooray Yisrael Shabal Bas Kohen. Regular Yisrael raped a Bas Kohen. I say raped. I mean, they slept together. It doesn't make any difference raped or slept together, whatever it was. Bas Kohen, they weren't married. Right? Okay. Now, can she eat truma? If she's a Bas Kohen, yeah, she can eat truma because of her father's house. She wasn't married to this guy, right? Okay, fine. Ibra, let's say she got pregnant from the guy. Now, what is she carrying? A Yisrael child, right? Because he was, what was he? He was a Yisrael, right? The rapist was Yisrael. She can't eat truma, as we saw yesterday. Why? Why can't she go back and eat truma in her father's house? Because it says, kinureh beisavia, kinureh, like when she was used, not when she's pregnant. But let's say the baby died. This cut off, baby died. It was baby died, while she's pregnant, Mea. Then she can eat truma because she's not pregnant with a viable child. Okay, that's all okay, right? What about the other way? What happens if the Kohen was a rapist? She's not married. Kohen raped her. Can she eat truma now? Kohen raped her. He's not married to her. She's married to her. She's married to a Kohen. She can eat truma. The Kohen raped her. She can't eat truma. Okay, let's have truma. Ibra, let's say she got pregnant from him. She's pregnant with a Kohen. She's carrying a Kohen's child. Still low sochel because she's pregnant. She's in there. She can't. In Uber we said apostles, right? Even if she's married, right? If he's dead, possible truma, but doesn't give it to her. Right? Yelod nachil. Only if he's born can he give it to him. Yolda tochal. These are the important words on the fourth line on Samach Testament days. She had a child from this Kohen. She can eat truma now. She's married to the guy. No, she's still single. She's never been married, but she had a child of it, like we said before. Remember, married to a Kohen. The Kohen died, divorced her. She has a child from him. She can eat truma. Here also, Yolda tocha. That's the big chiddush as we're seeing in the Mishnah. She had a child from a Kohen out of wedlock, never married to the Kohen. She can eat truma. Okay. Nimsa kocha shabal shalben gadol mishalav. The child is giving her the truma, but the husband's not. The husband can't give her truma. He's not a husband.
That's what I was asking before. But in the case of a divorce from a Kohen, when she has children,
yes, from the Kohen.
It's you were saying it's the husband, and I had in my head it's the children who allow.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean to say. If she was married to the children allow her to eat. It's not like, of course, it's not the. Yes, you're right. It's the children of, because since she has children who are Kohanim, she's allowed to eat truma. It's not their truma or his truma. She's allowed to. The children enable her to eat truma. Correct. That's right. It's because the children are children of a Kohen, of the husband. So it's the same thing. She bonds them to the Kohen. What?
Because they're Kohanim or
Because they're-
Kohaniyot.
Because they're Kohanim, right? Exactly right. Because they are children of Kohanim. She has a child of, she has seed, I'm going to call it. She has descendants of a Kohen, therefore she can eat Truma. Okay, but here the point, the husband, the guy who impregnated her was never married to her. The son has more power than his father. Who's his father? The rapist, right? The father's the guy who raped her or had deal with her, right? But he can't give her Truma because he's not married to her. But having a child of a Kohen, right? Not of a husband, right? You're right, Michael. The child of a Kohen enables her to eat Truma. Okay. Next case. Eved posel mishum bia, vein posel mishum zera. We had before that an Eved ruins her from eating Truma, right? We said only when she can go back and eat Truma, if she's a Bas Kohen, only if she was divorced or widowed, but excluding an Eved or of a Kachavim, who she can't be widowed or divorced from because she can never be married to him. So an Eved ruins, if an Eved sleeps with a woman, she can't eat Truma ever again. She can't marry a Kohen, and if she's a Bas Kohen, she can't eat Truma. Ain't no posel, right? Mishum zera. Listen to this though. What did I just say? If she has a descendant from a Kohen, right? Descendant of a Kohen, enables her to eat Truma, right? Michael, I just said a descendant. What if the descendant's an Eved? The descendant is an Eved. It's not her child, it's her grandchild, great-grandchild, we'll see. Okay? Doesn't ruin her from eating Truma if she's a Bas Kohen. Bas Kohen married to Yisrael. What do we say? No children, she can eat Truma again. What happens if she has a great-grandchild, a grandchild who's an Eved? So from that Yisrael, right? She had a descendant from that Yisrael that she was married to. Does that prevent her from eating Truma? Doesn't prevent her because the Eved doesn't count. It's not her child. It's not considered a child. Kate said, Bas Yisrael, the Kohen, Bas Kohen Yisrael, either way, either Bas Yisrael married a Kohen, we'll see both cases. Or a Bas Kohen married Yisrael, V'yoldei man of ben, they had a child. And he went and pressed himself to a shifta, meaning he violated a shifta. V'yoldei man ben, that child had it, and they had a child. In other words, her son went and slept with a slave woman, and they had a child. Hareza Evet. This grandchild's an Evet. That's how you get a child. Now, Haisa aim of Bas Yisrael. If his Evet, if his grandmother was a Bas Yisrael, the Kohen, Lo Tocha B'Truma, she can't eat Truma. Why? In other words, everybody else died, and the only sense she has is that Evet. And even though she was a Bas Yisrael to marry to a Kohen, that child does not enable her to eat Truma because that's not considered the child of a Kohen. It's not Zera Kohen, right? Truma. The other way around, Bas Kohen Yisrael. Let's say she's a Bas Kohen married to Yisrael, and she had a grandchild who's an Eved. She had a grandchild an Eved. Okay, does that grandchild, who's a grandchild of the Yisrael, right? And her, does that prevent her from eating Truma? No, she can eat Truma. Then the Eved's not considered her grandchild at all, because the Eved's considered not her grandchild. It's not considered her as Tochel Truma. Mamzer poslamach. A mamzer can somehow ruin as a mamzer. If you have a grandchild who's a mamzer, okay, you have a grandchild who's a mamzer. Your child is okay, and some of your grandchild's a mamzer. We'll give several cases. The simple case is we didn't have the case here. Your child married a mamzer. So the grandchild's a mamzer and everybody else died. You have a grandchild who's a mamzer. So the mamzer is your grandchild. So if you're a Bas Kohen and you were married to a Yisrael, Bas Kohen married to Yisrael, she had a grandson who's a mamzer, she can't eat Truma, and she can't eat Truma, Bas Kohen married to Yisrael, because she has a grandchild from the Yisrael, even though he's a mamzer. Umachel, the other way around. If she's a Bas Yisrael married to a Kohen, and her only descendant, and she's divorced or widowed from him, but she has a descendant who's a mamzer, that bonds her to the Kohen. She has a mamzer is a child. It's a Yisrael. It's a Jew. It's a Jew. A mamzer is a Jew. And if her grandchild is a Jew, the Jew can cause her to eat, can enable her to eat Truma if that grandchild is a grandchild of this Bas Yisrael and the Kohen, because she has children from a Kohen. The mamzer is clearly not a Kohen, right? Can't be a Kohen. He's a mamzer. The mamzer can't be a Kohen, but he has Kohen. He's a seed of a Kohen. She has seed from a Kohen. Kate said, gives an example. Bas Yisrael the Kohen and Bas Kohen the Yisrael, both ways. Bas Yisrael the Kohen or Bas Kohen the Yisrael. The man of Ben, Bas, they had a daughter. We're going with the sheet of Rabbi Yochanan back on Daf Mem Hey, that Eved Bas Yisrael, Eved the Bas Yisrael, the child's a mamzer. We don't hold that way. We don't hold the kid's a mamzer. We just hold the child is a pagum, right? Is a tainted child, but he's not a mamzer. But this holds that it is a mamzer. You can give a case where the kid married a mamzer. But in this case, she says, He had a nice Jewish girl. She married an Eved of Kechavim. The older man of Ben, he had a child. He raised her mom's kids and mom's. If this child's grandmother was a Bas Yisrael married to a Kohen, she can eat truma because this Bas Yisrael had descendants from the Kohen, even though the kid himself, the grandchild, is a mamzer. Bas Kohen Yisrael, she's Bas Kohen Yisrael, and she has a child. Well, she can't eat truma now. If all she has is this grandchild mamzer, and she's a Bas Kohen, you say, can she eat in her father's house? No, she has a child from the Yisrael. She has the descendants of the Yisrael. Kohen Gadol, listen to this. A Kohen Gadol, pomim shu poso. Sometimes a Kohen Gadol can ruin his grandmother from eating truma. How's that? Right? Kate said, Bas Kohen Yisrael. Bas Kohen marries Yisrael. The older man of Bas, and she had a daughter. The child is a Yisrael, right? Child is a Jew, a Yisraelis. This Yisraelis married a Kohen. The older man of that, and they had a child. Okay, so what happened? This Bas Kohen married to Yisrael. Her daughter is a Yisraelis. Her grandson is a Kohen. He can be a Kohen Gadol. The grandson can be a Kohen Gadol. He can be a Kohen Gadol serving in the altar of the base of Mikdash. His mother is the Yisraelis, right? So he can cause his mother to eat truma. If, let's say, the husband died and that's all she has is this child who's a Kohen Gadol, he can enable his mother to eat truma because his mother now has seed from the Kohen. Uposo Amimo, his grandmother, who is who? His grandmother was a Bas Kohen married to Yisrael, right? And her only descendant now is this Kohen Gadol, her grandson, prevents her from eating truma, because since she's a Bas Kohen married to Yisrael, if she's the Yisrael's dead, their children are dead, all she has left is a grandson who's a Kohen. He's a Kohen because of her son-in-law, right? So, but she was married to Yisraelis. Her only grandchild is a Kohen Gadol. The Kohen Gadol prevents her from eating truma because she has seed from a Yisrael, right? So what does she say? Oh, that grandson of mine. Lo kabini Kohen Gadol. Lower year, but we shouldn't have children. My grandson, she post line with truma. That grandson of mine, that Kohen Gadol, is preventing from eating truma. Real case. Tanino. So in the Mishnah says that a shota, onus and shota, right? Cannot cause her to eat truma. Let's say the Kohen's a shota and he marries Yisrael. Can she eat truma? Can eat truma? So this proves she cannot eat truma, right? He said a shota is like a onus mafata, lo posum machilin. It doesn't ruin this. It doesn't mean any of these marriages. So this is a proof to the Bryce that says shota becomes shenis married women umesu and they died. There's the same produce even. If a shota marries a woman and he dies with no children, do his brothers have to perform yim chalitza? No, it's not a marriage. Menaraisa shota can't get married. It's like a cut. So it's from our mission where you see that if a shota sleeps with a woman, if he's a Kohen, doesn't cause her to eat truma, and if he's not a Kohen, doesn't ruin her from eating truma. It doesn't mean anything if he's a regular shota. It's just a Jewish shota. He's not an asin or a mamzer or something like that. It's not considered a marriage. Kate said, "Harei Yisrael shabal bas Kohen." Going back to the beginning of the Mishnah, Yisrael slept with a bas Kohen, toch b'truma, right? Meaning where there was no marriage, right? We're talking about a case of out of wedlock, right? A Yisrael slept with a bas Kohen, doesn't root in truma. Even if she became pregnant from him, love tochel, she can't eat truma anymore because it's not kinura basically. Kivan the Ibra says, wait a minute. So listen to this. In a non-wedlock situation, right? A Yisrael slept with a bas Kohen. She could still eat her father's truma. She's nothing wrong. She's not a zona. They weren't married. He wasn't married. She wasn't married. He was a nice Jewish boy. By mistake, he made a mistake and slept with a nice Jewish girl. She can still eat truma. However, if she's pregnant from the Yisrael, she can't eat truma. So the Gemara says, "Kiva the Ibra lo tocha." Since if she's pregnant, she couldn't eat. Why aren't you concerned? If you know they slept together, they didn't have a test yet to see if they're pregnant. Why aren't you? If she was pregnant, she couldn't eat truma anymore. So why? From her father's house, she's a bas Kohen. So why don't you say maybe she's pregnant? Why don't you say she? Wait a minute. You slept with a Jew. You slept with a Yisrael. You slept with the Yisrael in the college dorm. You're a bas Kohen. Maybe you shouldn't eat truma at all now because maybe you're pregnant. Till you verify that you're pregnant, go to the doctor and find out if you're pregnant. Says kiva the ibla maybe shivra. Then we learn. Listen to this. We had before a case like this. Two men married two women. Let's say twins. Two men married two twins. And then at the marriage, they got mixed up. The chuppah was a double ceremony. They got mixed up and they slept with the wrong wife. What are they supposed to do? You wait 3 months to make sure they're not pregnant. Why? Because if somebody's pregnant, there's a mamzer there. and you want to make sure that if the moms are nasi, wait 3 months. So what do you see? And this is the wedding night. At the wedding, right? They got married, and then they got confused. They mixed up. They made a mistake, right? It was dark. They mixed them up. So he said, "Wait a minute, separate for them." What do you mean separate? You think she's pregnant just from the first bia wedding night? It can happen, right? So you separate them right away. So you see, even from the first bia. So if he slept with her once, if the Israel slept with the bas kohen, why do you say, "Oh, if she's not pregnant, she could still eat truma from her father"? What do you mean? Maybe she's pregnant. Why don't you should wait 3 months, check if she's pregnant. Didn't we learn saying? For Yichus, there we're worried about his own moms or not. When the two couples got their signals mixed up, there you're worried about a moms or there we got to be careful. Here it's only where truma, not so bad. Well, truma l'chashin, where truma by the time you learn. Let's man says a man wants to prevent his wife from falling even, so he says, listen, he's a Kohen, so listen, here's a get. It should be chal 1 minute before I die or an hour before I die. That means that any minute he could die in 5 minutes, he could die in an hour. She can't eat truma anymore, right? Also, she can't eat truma if he's a Kohen. Miyad. Why? So what do you see? You are worried. You are worried that maybe she's pregnant. She's not pregnant now, but maybe she'll be pregnant. Maybe they had BLS to be pregnant. So you're worried about pregnancy all the time. So again, why do you say only if she's pregnant she can't eat truma? Maybe she's pregnant. You know what? By marriage, we're worried about it. In other words, by marriage, you are worried about it because maybe he had deal with her last night. Maybe she's pregnant. By znus, you're not worried about it. When they only slept together, they're always careful not to get pregnant. When people are not married and they have bia, they always take precautions. She shakes, in days when they didn't have the kinds of stuff that they have today, the contraceptives or whatever, pills or whatever. So she shook around, she shook herself around, made sure that, the zonus knew how not to get pregnant. So you're also, says, are you worried about the Nesuin? Maybe she's pregnant. By the time you learn, listen, this bas kohen, let's say a bas kohen was married to Israel. Umeis, and he died. Okay. Tovel is velchels truma. She's Tovel because she just had beer with him. Let's assume she had beer with him in the last 24 hours or that day, whatever. But she can eat truma. She can eat truma in the evening. Why? Well, she can eat truma in the evening. What do you mean? Maybe she's pregnant. A bas kohen, right? Married to Israel, and he died. Right, so for 1 day she has to tovel because maybe they had bia that day. So not yet. She's coming for 1 day, but she can eat truma. Why aren't you worried about that? She's pregnant. No, there it means like this. She can eat after she goes to the mikveh. She can eat truma only until 40 days from that point. Why? If she turns out that she's not pregnant, so she wasn't pregnant, she could eat truma from her father's house because she had no other children. Obviously, we're talking about a bas kohen who was married to Israel and he died. Pardon?
Who goes home?
And goes home to eat her father's truma. So if she's not truma, that's fine. If she's not pregnant, she's no problem. She's pregnant. And if she's pregnant, till 40 days, it's not a pregnancy. It doesn't mean anything. In other words, until 40 days, if the child doesn't take form, so it's not so bad. So she can still eat truma. From 40 days on, then she's pregnant. Then she couldn't eat truma anymore because she's pregnant from the Israel. That doesn't make sense. It says in the Sefer, if you could tell that she's pregnant, she's ruined going back. And once she's pregnant, let's say after 2 months, you could tell her 3 months she's pregnant, then she's ruined. In other words, she ate truma shelo kedin, and she'd have to pay for it. You have to pay for it, bring a carbon and pay for it, and they had 25%, et cetera, et cetera. So if why do you say that she's ruined? You said she's allowed to eat for the first 40 days when the child didn't take form. And by the way, you see over here when it says he died the day of the wedding, because otherwise, if she's married to him for a long time, she might be pregnant already after 40 days when he dies. We're talking about we only married that day. So you see even that day, and you are worried about Nisuim. In other words, so what we say, with assume you are worried even by Nisuim, even for the first 1 day. So he said, yes, she's only ruined going back to 40 days. In other words, if she got married to the guy and he died that day, I guess he died, right when they got married, right? So she had beer with him that day. She can go to the mikveh and eat truma for 40 days. After 40 days, you have to be ruined. If she ate truma after 40 days and it turned out that she was pregnant, then anything she ate after 40 days, that was by mistake. That was a sin, and she has to make up for it, right? She ate that for eating truma b'shogeg, pay for it, add 25%, and then she's mekulkeles. What does Rashi say? Rashi says, "L'shalim truma b'shachla karen b'chomish tzach zori b'achla truma b'shogeg." Okay, that's it. The ate truma b'shogeg. Yeah, she doesn't bring a carbon for that. I said before, carbon. You don't need carbon. You just have to pay for it. Add 25%. That's not like kachim. Kachim, you'd have to bring a carbon for, right? From the Ela. This is not Ela. So my mukukelis araba means going back until that. So it means like this. So yes, you're worried about. You're not worried that she's pregnant. Stam. That's what we're saying. You are worried about it. I'd assume you are worried about it. And so why we say over here, why aren't you worried about it? Why aren't you worried about it here? He says, but we are worried about it here too. So the answer is, we're not worried about it. But after, if it turns out she's pregnant, then she sinned. But for the first 40 days, you're not worried about it. So therefore, if you know she's pregnant, obviously she cannot eat her father's truma. But if you don't know that she's pregnant for 40 days, there's no problem anyway. And after 40 days, you have to be concerned, is she pregnant or not? Listen to this case. A man is engaged to a woman. They're not married yet. They're not supposed to sleep together. And he slept with her in her father's house while she was there. And Rav says, Havlad mamzer. Whoa. That wouldn't make her a mamzer. How was the Vlad mamzer? We'll see. Shmuel says, Havlad shtiki. We're not sure. It's a suffix. He's like a suffix mamzer. In other words, obviously, she's exposed herself. She's a tramp. That's what we're saying. We're saying here. Amarav. And the Stavra Mil said Rav is speaking about the Daima Alma, where she's also rumored to be exposing herself to other people too, right? That's the issue. That's what Rav says. And therefore we assume the Blazim Amzer, because could have come from somebody else too. If she's sleeping with him, she's sleeping around. Avalodam, if it's not rumored, now if she's not rumored to be sleeping with other people, we assume it came from him, even though he wasn't supposed to live with her. He jumped the gun, so to speak, right? He jumped the gun by sleeping with her before they had Nisuin, but not a mamzer. Shadinally, we assume it's his. Amarava, but how do I know? This Diktani Yol the Tocha, the fourth line in space. What do we say? That if a man out of wedlock slept with this woman, and what? He was a Kohen, and she impregnated her while she's pregnant. She can't eat truma. But if she had a child with him, remember the child with him out of wedlock, she can eat truma. What's the case of the if she's suspected, rumored to be sleeping around with other people? So why could she eat truma? Just because she had this child? If he's just because a Kohen slept with her, she slept with a lot of people. How can she eat truma? Yeah, maybe, yeah, right. Elalav Mine, it must be that it was his. El Min it was rumored from him. Below Daimon wasn't rumored from other people. So Ma Hosan L'Haiser, there she's not married to anybody. She's also to sleep with everybody. Possibly we assume it's his, right? We assume it says why? Because she was only rumored to sleep with him or with Kohanim, and not with other people. You're right. If she only slept with Kohanim, it would be okay. But she was rumored to sleep with everybody. But over here, where she's also to everybody else, but she's mutter to this guy. Okay, she's not supposed to get married yet. But if she's mutter, she's a rusa lo kolshkein. He could have even performed the erison with Bia, right? Lo kolshkein certainly should be okay, right? So therefore, it must be speaking about when Rav says it's a mamzer, it's speaking about where she's rumored to sleep around. No. If there's rumor that he slept in Alpha of the low daim alma, also Rav says it's a mamzer. Maybe Rav says it's always a mamzer because my time. We say even if there's not rumors that she slept with other people, but we know she slept. She's rumored to be. She's rumored to have slept with him. Right? It doesn't say. It just said. What was it? How do we say? We said Itmar Haboros. He slept with him. Right? There's only rumored to sleep with the Arus, with the Oris, with her fiance, not with anybody else. Still, Rav says it's a mamzer. My time. Since she exposed herself to the Oris, we assume that, even though she's not rumored to sleep with other people. Maybe that's Rav. Maybe that's Rav's point. What about our Mishnah? Why in our Mishnah do we say that if she slept with this Kohen, right, who wasn't married to her, and she had a child with him, she can eat truma? We said that Ben has more koch than the father. Why is that? Maybe she slept with other people. Maybe the Mishnah speak about where they were both in a jail cell together, and nobody else could have slept with her. Maybe that's what it's speaking about. Maybe that's why she's allowed to eat because of that case. Because there we know that it came from him. But otherwise, maybe Rav goes that far. That's one way to learn Rav. Economics, some say no. The ball outcome on the pligi the day. When we know that he slept with her, certainly everybody agrees. Everybody agrees the Basra should mean kids not a mamzer. Rav and Shmuel would say kids not a mamzer. This is what he means. Arusa she'ibra. If we don't know that he slept with her, you have an arusa, a man's engaged to his wife. All of a sudden, he shows up one day to take her out on a date, and she's with child. He says, "Wait a minute, what's going on over here?" Right? Arusa she'ibra. Rav says it's a mamzer. Shmuel says it's a shtuki. I'm not sure. It's a suffix. Rav Mistavrin Milstead Rav. When does Rav say it's a mamzer? When he's not rumored, he was away in yeshiva. He showed up one day, wanted to meet his fiance, wanted to remember what she looked like, and she's pregnant. That doesn't look too good. You show up and your fiance is pregnant, not good, right? She wasn't rumored to sleep with him, but she is rumored to sleep with other people. Then it's a mamzer. But if she was also rumored to sleep with him, I forgot the email when she was asleep from us, even though she was rumored to sleep around us, but she was also rumored to sleep with her others, then Basudesha Dinala, we go bless him, just like Robil Zachar. We said many cases, like if a woman's married and she was raped by somebody, you don't have to do pregnancy tests and all that. If it turns out she has a child, you assume it came from the husband. That's what Rabba. And Rabba says, he said that's what Rab's speaking about. In other words, it's only speaking about where he showed up and she's rumored to sleep with him. But Rab says it's a mamzer because only where he she wasn't rumored to sleep with her husband. She was rumored to sleep with other people. Then it gets a mamzer. But if she's rumored to sleep with everybody, including her oris, then she's not a mamzer. So I'm Rabbi. How do I know? The Tani Yolda Tocha. Again, because Mishnah said where they were not married, and she slept with a Kohen, and she had a child, she can eat truma. If she was rumored to sleep from him and not with anybody else, is there any chiddush? Obviously, she only slept with this Kohen, therefore she can eat truma. The answer is she also was rumored to sleep with other people. She was also with everybody because she was single, he was single. We assume it came from him because that was the rumor. Over here, where the oris she's mutter, and the other one says also low koshkein. Certainly it should be. Certainly should be mutter. Right, and therefore, if it was rumored to sleep from him, even from others, we assume it's mutter. No, it's no proof. The Ram say if she was rumored to sleep with everybody, with him and with others, maybe Rav says it could answer. Maybe our mission speak about where there was no rumors at all. When there's no rumors at all, we don't assume that. That she can eat. That's the chiddush there. But if there's rumor to sleep around, maybe they would with the mamzer, even if she was rumored to sleep with the husband as well as with the others. All right, we'll stop here. We're out of time, and tomorrow's daf, of course, will be on the podcast, as we mentioned before. That the next live shiur will be Daf Pei a week from Thursday. All the other shiur will be on the podcast. Have a good day. Shavua Tov to everybody.